Hi, friends, and welcome to Self Meets Soul, a podcast where we discuss how to discover what sets your soul on fire and modern ways to integrate spirituality into your daily life. My name's Juliana, and in today's episode, we're going to be chatting about how incorporating practices like breathwork and sound healing can be a beautiful tool on your spiritual and self-development journey. Our guest today is a bright soul who has a passion for bringing love, light, and growth to people all around her. She's a podcast host, yoga and Pilates teacher, and a breath work and sound bath facilitator. And she has most definitely been an inspiration on my spiritual journey, so I'm really excited to have her here. Caitlin Barner is here to share her wisdom on breathwork and sound healing and how it has impacted her path. Welcome to the show, Caitlin.
Hello. Thank you. That was such a lovely
I had to, after you did
introduction.
me, I was like, listen,
Appreciate
she has a
it.
way with words. I got to pull from her.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Amazing.
excited
So
to be here.
before we get into today's topic, I want to know, what is something that lights up your soul?
Oh my gosh. So many things light up my soul. I can't even begin. Whether it's like the practices that I teach, I took a beautiful yoga class this morning where I was like, dang, like I needed that real bad. To, just being able to sit at home and read a book or watch TV, that lights up my soul sometimes too. I would say lately, my biggest obsession has been a little sweet treat. And usually that's in the form of decaf or third caffeinated coffee. I'm really trying to leave the caffeine train just because it makes my skin freak out. And I have my sweet treat here with
I know.
me
I
that
saw you
just
grab it
made,
and I was like,
so
yum.
I'm like once a day, if I can allow myself some space to make it, curate it, or even go treat myself and have somebody else make that for me. It's just been lighting up my soul lately.
Yes, pouring into yourself, it sounds like, which
Yes,
allows
literally.
you to give to others. Yes, literally. Amazing.
Pull it up.
Awesome. Yes, pull it up, Key Rihanna. Okay, so I love that. So to get us started here, what is breathwork and sound healing for people who might not be familiar with it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cut me off if I talk for 20 minutes, but
all good.
Yeah, breathwork and sound healing are practices that can be done together. They could be done separately. You can have a ton of experience in both of them and show up and have a new experience every time. Or you can have zero experience and show up for the first time and just find stuff, all the beautiful things that are buried underneath the surface. I'll start with sound just because I think it's a little bit more kind of out in the ether and clear of what it is. Because you see, facilitators of sound, they're lugging around the wagon of big bowls or their gongs or what have you. But when you step into a sound healing, sound bath, sound meditation, there's lots of different terms for it. What you can kind of expect is a little bit of rest and relaxation. But the goal is to place your effort in actively listening to all the sounds and receiving them. There's a lot of studies done that just by allowing ourselves to kind of soften into a space and allow ourselves to receive, our brain waves move from this really kind of tight, picture like TV static type of wave. They're called beta waves. And a sound meditation will take you into kind of these alpha and theta waves that are long and loopy and luxurious and just a little bit slower moving, if you will. And what's really cool is sound is just a part to get you there. That's what happens in silent meditation, what happens in any other type of deep meditative practices that you do. And when we go to those places, it's really easy to fall asleep. It's really easy to have crazy thoughts all over the place, see colors, see the sound. But what's really happening is you're kind of co-creating this journey of deep inner healing, of enabling yourself to go to this subconscious level past your, I have this to do today, or after this, I'm going to eat this for dinner thoughts, and moving into ones of what are your deep values, your deep beliefs, your deep habits, patterns. And for me, anytime I've been like a part of a sound healing, sometimes those changes or shifts aren't even conscious. You just kind of feel like you're floating there. And so it's a really magical experience for you to hear new sounds, sounds that are, a part of nature. You think of shells or even like an ocean drum, or to work with different resonances, think crystal bowls or gongs, for example. And the magic really happens with you just opening up yourself to hear them all, even if they don't necessarily resonate with you. My favorite thing to say too at the beginning of sound baths is that like there's going to be silence as well. And I feel like I know you well enough to say that it's really hard to be in silence for
Yes.
some of us, right? We think a lot, even when we practice yoga, meditation, all these things. It can be really hard to quiet the mind. And so sound is just another beautiful tool to do that. On the other hand, breath work is, I can't even I don't even know where to begin. I think breath work is a very big, like yoga concept, where, you're inviting energy into the body, simply put. In a more complex answer, we practice pranayama, or intentional invitation of energy into our bodies. And it can be the form of super activating really big breaths where you're energizing your system, you're creating openness, expansion in your body. And there's a lot of other forms or modalities of breath work that are really calming to the nervous system, that stimulate the vagus nerve, that cool your body, so to speak. So there's quite the array. The main type of breath work that I facilitate is called conscious breath work, and it's circular, connected in and out through your mouth. The emphasis is on the inhale. So you're really pulling in air and then just kind of letting it fall out. And during this experience, this journey, like I have had the most spiritual experiences. There's no other way to say it. Whether it be, like I've traveled back in time to my dad's childhood home as a kid myself, and like saw myself infusing love into these spaces. I've had experiences where I've cried and screamed and like felt anger in my body. I've had experiences where my body moves itself, or I'm like swimming through the galaxies almost.
Wow.
And every session is different. Yeah, it's so cool. That lights up my soul too, girl.
Yeah.
And so it's really like I'm a big advocate for conscious breath work, but if that feels like it's big, it's a lot of big energy, and it's always working in you. We practice breath work every day, but a lot of times we see these journeys out there, right? Holotropic, where people are laying on the floor, they're screaming, blah, 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 blah. And that can happen too. So like it's all possible. It's all out there. And my favorite part about breath work is that for the most part, typically speaking, it's free. You can do it at home. Air is free, and it's freeing. So you have the ability to gently, softly, kindly manipulate the way it enters your body and completely shift, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual states that you're in, simply by, changing the energy that you pull into your body. So hope that answers your question.
Oh, yes, it does. And so many things are coming up while you were talking, because I've had experiences with both, and I remember my first sound bath, and my mind was like blown. I went like completely out of body, was somewhere else. I remember something about me being in like the woods. I it was not a place I'd been before, but I was somewhere completely else, and just but I was aware that I was awake, but it also felt like I wasn't at the same time. It was very interesting, such a good experience. I became obsessed with it. And so I have a really good experience with that. Breath work, I'm not gonna lie to you, girl. I am honestly like, I want to get into breath work because every time
Hmm.
I have tried to do like kundalini yoga or little things like alternate nostril breathing. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about with that one? Like, it's way too much for me, and I feel
Hmm.
like I feel dizzy. I don't know if that's normal. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking what you're talking about with like, it's a lot of energy that's being changed. Maybe that's why, but I want to get to that point where like I'm having experiences like you're talking about with breath work.
Yeah. Yeah. The what you just said about like I'm kind of awake, I'm kind of asleep, that's meditation right there. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's a million ways to practice meditation, but that's literally the state I'm talking about of you like your brainwaves being like, I'm ready to chill, like let's go.
Right. Exactly.
When it comes to breath work, yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid and very skeptical. And, there's not a lot of science behind it. I think that more and more is coming out each and every day, but that is totally normal to feel dizzy or lightheaded or honestly like very out of body. I would say with both of these modalities, we go to this like timeless place where time does not exist. The obligations that we have as humans no longer like weigh on us so heavy. And I think that's what I love about these tools most is that like I don't want to use the word escape because like we don't want to use our spiritual practices to leave our lives and then come back. I think what it offers us is that opportunity to hit the pause button and to say, like, all right, like I am going to take some time for myself. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm open to whatever's coming up. My favorite thing about conscious breath work is it's so gentle. You'll see people in, let's say, a group session breathing really hard, like really getting after it, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
see some that like you can barely tell that they're breathing. And so the breath is your guide. Like you show up and it starts to lead. And that's like the coolest thing ever is you go in, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have like a really good session. I'm gonna cry today. Like I feel like I'm gonna cry. And then you go in and like nothing happens. And it's just like this, like, oh man, I feel delightful. I feel open. I feel ready to take on my day. And sometimes you go in and you're like, this is going to be nothing. And then it's like, wow, those emotions that were in there were like ready to go. And the breath was
Yeah.
like, let's do it. Like, I'm going to facilitate this movement in you. And you're simply the vessel at that time. So we'll get you into it, girl. I have a group coming up if you want to
Yes.
come.
No, because the way you
Um,
were describing it, I was like, this sounds like something that would be more fitting for
yeah.
me. It is very possible that I just took someone's class and maybe that modality just wasn't like completely right for me, right? You know?
Yeah, totally. And the cool part about that is that like you can go back in a couple months and see if it works again,
Yeah.
or if you're
Right.
like, ooh, I'm good.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you've kind of touched on some of them here, but are there any other physical, mental, emotional, or just spiritual benefits that you wanted to touch on with either of
Oh
these
yeah.
practices?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for, sound, one of the things that I really like to share at the beginning of sessions is like you might feel, and actually with breath work too, a lot of times when we have like old injuries, right, or places that hold on to a lot of tension and tightness, um, the vibration, the meditative state, the breath itself can really weave its way into those spaces and create more room. I've had a couple of breathwork experiences, particularly where, I've had not pain, but like heat radiating through. I've had a wrist injury, an ankle injury, and through my shoulder. And it's really easy to be like, oh, like now I'm done with that injury. But it's literally been shown that by practicing these energetic practices, I'd say not even just sound and breath work, that like we can start to heal ourselves from the inside out. And
Mhm.
I think if you're open to that idea, that's already happening, you know?
Definitely.
From an emotional standpoint, I've had sound baths and breathwork sessions where people cry their eyes out and just needed like a space to be safe to do that. We lodge emotions everywhere. I always my teacher that I went through breathwork training with, he always says that this practice of breathwork is for every time you've held your breath. So, if you're in a conversation with someone that you love and you don't want to make them angry, so you just kept your mouth shut, more than likely there's some frustration that you just stuffed down in that moment, or sadness, or, the feeling of guilt or shame. Those are like some of the bigger ones. It Inviting that energy into the body is allowing those emotions to be felt and to have a place to be honored. And I think that's really important to think about sometimes, like cerebrally, because we think, oh, I'm sad today. But what if it's like, what if I'm just feeling or experiencing sadness? What if sadness is a part of me today, but it's not who I am, or it's not the state that I'll always be in? And that's really shifted my mindset as far as like how I live my life, because it's like, I don't identify with these emotions, but they've trusted me to feel them. I hope my boyfriend wouldn't mind me sharing this, but like he's like been working with like frustration and anger a lot lately. He's like, I don't know what it is, but sometimes it just like comes into my body and I don't know what to do with it. And anger is an emotion, I'd say, that we're like really scared of as humans, because we see all the shit, excuse my language, but the literal shit that's going on in the world and how humans treat other humans. And it's beautiful because it's like, okay, like what if you're working with anger of other people around you, the environments that are anger is not feeling safe in, and it's finally coming to you and is like, all right, I'm ready to go. Like, please feel me in a constructive, safe, loving way. But in breath work, I think it's always a gorgeous container to like let it rip. Like, if you're gonna cry, fucking cry. If giggles come out, like if you are laughing hysterically, like feel that joy so deeply, because it's ready to be expressed. It's ready to come up and be healed. And I think knowing that, it heals us just naturally. It lightens us a little bit, whether we were feeling light or heavy before,
Definitely.
And like spiritually, I mean, I think it's really easy to say right now. I talk about this all the time of like spirituality is these things. Spirituality is understanding that the sound isn't healing you. The breath work isn't healing you. The act of showing up for yourself is what's healing you.
Oh,
The
that's a
act of
bar.
yeah, the act of being open to new experiences and receiving and integrating what you learned, even if it's something your ego doesn't want to sit with, that's healing, in my very humble
Definitely.
opinion.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah. And so, it's sometimes I struggle with it because people are always like, you're a spiritual person because you do all these things. I'm like, I'm a spirit, period.
Right,
Like, so
exactly.
are you. So naturally, we are spiritual. And these are just my forms of expression and where I find like a sense of home in my soul. As cheesy as that kind of sounds, like sound brings me comfort. If I'm having a shitty day, I'll throw on like a gong playlist and take a nap. And I'm like,
Right.
wow, I feel better, whatever better means. Or, when I least expect it, a breathwork opportunity pops up, I go and it's like, wow, that lesson, that clarity, or, that emotion that I'm working with, I needed to. And so it's all, I think, just, we always talk about this, like, it can be really practical, and it also can be like whatever you want. You don't ever have to go to sound healing to like enjoy the benefits of meditation. You don't ever have to do a deep breathwork journey to enjoy the benefits of it. It could be simply sitting at home with a beautiful playlist of sound bowls, or, mantras are another part of sound that I don't think are talked about a lot. And practice some deep breathing. And that's just as spiritual as paying $50 to go to a session curated. Granted, like I am one of those people who's curating, so I want you to come to my sessions.
Right.
And I want you to enjoy those things, but like it doesn't have to be that to be considered, quote unquote, a spiritual practice, a spiritual benefit, if you will.
No, definitely. Yeah. Because after that first sound class I had, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this more. And so I had been looking around, but all of it was very like expensive. And I get the energetic exchange. Like, I'm not saying anything about that, but in this day and age, I have to be really careful with where my money's going, because, a lot of us are spending most of our money on bills, right? So it's like, that was definitely hard. So I started to get into just looking at playlists, like you said, and using those while I meditate has been like a game changer for me. And I think one day too, I just wanted to have like my own like little sound healing session at my house, and I put on like this playlist and I laid my yoga mat on my balcony, and it was like the same experience. So I was like, okay, I can also do this for myself at home, when I may not have the financial means to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved all the benefits that you talked about. They're very true. When you're talking about anger, I totally got that too. And it made me think of when people were saying anger is a secondary emotion, and how it comes from something else. So, and it could be pain, it could be anxiety, it could be, worry for someone, right? And how those practices really do help. I don't do like, traditional breath work, I guess, in the sense that most people think of, but when I've noticed feeling, because I feel tight here. That's usually when I'm anxious about something or angry, like my stomach and my chest is where I feel things typically. And I've noticed it helps me sometimes to like let out like a sigh, but like a really dramatic one that vibrates my chest. And like, I don't know, it feels like I'm letting energy go when I feel that vibration, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I really like to talk about like when we talk about sound, it's like, okay, people are expecting me to be like zooming on the bowls the whole time. And that's cool. The whatever instruments that sound practitioners, bring to the experience are going to be exactly what you need. But I think the coolest sound that we can work with on a day-to-day basis is our breath. In yoga, we practice Ujjayi pranayama, and how I always describe that as like an ocean wave. And I don't know about you, but I'm a beach bitch. Like when I get my toes in that sand, I'm like, everything's fine. I don't know what I was worried about. And I love that idea of like this oceanic, like if you can actually switch your mind to hear your breath sound like ocean waves coming in and out of the shore, you are going to change the way you're thinking, feeling, and perceiving whatever's around you in that moment. I teach like other formats of breath work and, some of my yoga classes and stuff. And humming bee breath is another beautiful one that I love to work with, where you're stimulating the vagus nerve, but humming is just like, it's been like scientifically proven to like elevate your mood, probably because it's doing that, but also it's like, using your own voice. And so I love that you said that, because it is moving energy and allowing your nervous system to know like, okay, I'm good. I'm okay.
Right.
And breath, in my opinion, is the most powerful tool that we have as humans. You don't have to practice any of this stuff to necessarily have consciousness of that, so to speak. And yeah, sigh it out. Like when people in yoga are like, make some noise. I love when people are like, because it's like that little mini scream was like,
right.
Yes, I want to get out of here.
Right.
Let it leave.
That's so true. I love that. I love when I like tell people to actually like let something go, and then it's like the biggest sigh in the room, and I'm like, yes, they're doing it.
Right. Me too. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you first get into breath work and sound healing? Like, so you went through training, but how did you decide to like go on that journey?
Yeah. Sound, I was just like, I've always been curious. I wanted a gong so bad. I'm still manifesting one. So send her my way, send good energy my way.
I shall.
But I was just like, I'm a yoga teacher. This seems like the most natural next step is to start to be able to do sound baths and incorporate that in my yoga classes. So there was, I guess, less depth when it came to thinking about going through a training and like getting certified to do that. And really, like, my certification program, I did it locally here with Hamid Jabbar. He's amazing. He has so much wisdom about like sound, music, the history of sound.
I think that was he did my first class that I went to.
Yeah.
That name sounds
this makes sense. You started with the platinum experience, girl.
Amazing.
Yeah, he sings, he plays guitar beautifully. He's learning the didgeridoo. Last time I checked in with him, I think he's got it down now.
Love that.
Yes, me too. But yeah, so I was just like, no, this feels right. Like, this feels like the next step. And, I really like dug deep into that. I had already owned like a bowl or two and just kind of futzed around with it. And then finally I was like, okay, I feel confident enough to like step into the seat of a teacher now and do this. Breathwork was a little bit of a different story. I was working with one of my really good friends, Diane, who also teaches conscious breathwork. She's been a facilitator for years. And she was like, I really think that you would be amazing at this and you will love it. And I was like, I don't know. And so I did a few sessions with her and was like, I don't know. Like, I'm having magical experiences, but it's also like kind of freaking me out. Like, it was changing a lot of things in me very quickly. Mm-hmm. And then I, on a whim, I just got a download and was like, yeah, this seems right. And I hopped on a call with my who is my teacher now, Zach Rader. He's located up in Sedona. And it was right at that pivoting point where I was about to quit my job, maybe a month or two before. Well, actually, no, it was a little bit longer than that. And I was just telling him, I'm like, I do not feel aligned in my life. Like, nothing feels like it's right. But this somehow feels like it would serve me even if I don't ever step into the seat of a facilitator or a teacher. And I was right. Like, I trusted my intuition there and invested in myself. And what's so cool about the structure of how he does this is we go on facilitator only retreats. So, it's people from all over the place. They come and we stay in Sedona for a weekend and we just breathe and we learn about the breath. And then from there, like I continued to do one-on-ones and stuff of that nature. And that really got me kind of in tune with like, okay, everybody's way of breathing is different. How can I coach them through, make them feel safe, create a container? And that has created like ripple effects, I would say, in any other modality I teach. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but no, I just kind of like bottom line with both of them. I was like, this feels right. I'm going to do it. Same thing with Pilates. I had like hemmed and hawed. I'm still in that process right now. And I went back and forth. I was like, I'm not a Pilates princess, quote unquote, but as I started going to a few more classes, it was like, wow, this is really creating power in people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel my mission on this planet is to help people discover who they are, and like continue to unfold those layers even as we evolve and change, and to continue to be adventurous and curious about like what who am I, what is this vessel, what is my soul wanting to do, and all of those moments of like saying yes to becoming a facilitator just lined up in perfect moments where I was like, new cycle is starting, old one is ending. um how can I like leap into this one fully and really intentionally?
That's amazing. No, that answered my question perfectly. I think too, like, I like what you said about how you were told, like, even if you don't end up teaching like breath work, that it'll still be a benefit to you. And that reminds me of what they say when you go through yoga training. Like, you don't have to necessarily be a yoga teacher just because you went through this. It helps you kind of peel back layers of yourself and deepen your own practice. And if you do get to share that and choose to share that with others, that's like an even bigger benefit.
Yeah, I would say like, I've always been such a believer, like, okay, I have to have all the certifications in order to be a teacher. I would say, I always was like, I got to be certified to do this. And I would say like the thing that I did learn with breathwork is from like a safety perspective, you do got to be practiced and prepared to hold space. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
say like that aside, like we're all teachers naturally, whether you step into a yoga studio and like curate a class for people, or you share your voice online in a podcast and people who are listening take one nugget, or you show up to learn something. Like you are still always in that dual role of like, I'm learning and I'm teaching and I'm
Mm-hmm.
absorbing and then I'm sharing and then, I'm contracting and then I'm expanding. It's like, so for anybody listening that's like, oh yeah, I went through yoga teacher training and I never wanted to be a teacher. Like you are one. You were one before you signed up. It's just you're just maybe not teaching in the way that we typically speak of it.
Right. Definitely. So walk me through a typical breath work class. Like what, so said you prefer the modality of conscious breath work. That's kind of your specialty.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about what participants can expect to feel, but what does it look like when you're setting it up basically and guiding people
Yeah.
through that?
Yeah. So I always love to tell people, bring your comfies, like bring a yoga mat, bring a pillow if you want it. I mean, I often supply a lot of these things too, but like for me, I'm like, I know my breathwork blanket. I have one. Like it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is my girl. We've been through it. We've sweated. We've cried. Yeah, together. So I always tell people to like come in comfortable clothing. Like just come raw, like you. Like there's no need to like get ready for it or like look cute. Like you're just gonna be laying down. So I usually have people get set up depending on how large of a session we have. We'll either do rows of people or just form a big circle with everybody's heads moving towards the middle. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really just to allow the flow of energy to continue throughout the room. And I really do try to spend like 15 to 20 minutes talking through like all of the expectations of what you might see, the physical things, the emotional things, the spiritual things. And then I walk them through the breath and we practice it together just so that when you lay down and like begin your experience, it's not the first thought that you're having is not, am I doing this right? Or like, oh God, she's going to come over and correct me. So I really like to spend some time like getting into that nitty gritty and talking about like, yeah, what might you experience, what might not happen. And then we crank up the music and we get breathing. So during a session, we all start together and then people kind of start to taper off. My teacher, all of us that teach this or some form of breath work like this, we kind of refer to it as dropping in. So you pull the breath, you invite all of that energy into your body, your energetic field, and then you just kind of relax the breath. And like I said earlier, you go wherever you're supposed to go. And that might be happening even while you're breathing, like I've had experiences where I am cackling. Like I take a couple breaths and I'm laughing my ass off. And there's nothing funny. Like I'm just, it's bubbling and it needs to come out. So I would say, yeah, like once we get going, all of those beautiful things can happen. And then I kind of walk around the room, just kind of check in on people, make sure that they're in their own experience. And at the end, I have people roll over on their side and kind of give them a little energy clearing. And then we sit up, and I really like to talk through these things personally. Like I'm a yapper, if you couldn't tell. And I learned to walk around and like, hey, what's one word to describe how you're feeling right now? And that's really just like for me as a facilitator to check in and make sure like, hey, Juliana's with me here in this room versus still potentially, like processing. And so usually after everybody shares their word, people want to share their experience too. And so I like to leave some room for that. It is by no means obligatory. Like every time I'm not like, I want to share. And it's really beautiful in those moments because sometimes the group holds space for each other too. Like someone might have had a really big experience and the emotions just continue, after the session. And it's really important, I think, at the beginning and at the end to be like, hey, we're not sharing this. Like, this is a safe space. You can go tell everybody in your world about what you felt here today, but everybody else's experience belongs to them. So let's not do that. So it ends up being usually around like 90 minutes. But some people breathe for a really long time, like up to 40 minutes or so. Some people are dropping in around that 30 mark. So just kind of depends on, what's being processed collectively, individually, all that beautiful stuff. Every session is different. And that's like one of my favorite things about it.
That is really cool. And it sounds like I like your setup because I haven't done any kind of breath work where it's like in a circle with the heads facing in. I was like visualizing that, and I can imagine that even creates more of a kind of communal space and energy. So that's a nice idea.
Yeah, it's fun. And I forgot to mention you're blindfolded too. So like you are connected, but you are in your own experience, So someone across the circle or the rows might be cackling and you might be crying your eyes out, or it might be a quieter experience. It just always kind of depends on what's floating around in the ether. So yeah, it's really fun when people get to be in a circle because it's like, okay, we're kind of, I know I've got people close to me.
Right. Definitely. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. That sounds great. I'm excited to go to one of your classes. Yes. Especially because you seem like you have all these really nice spaces too that I notice you've been going to, like at least what you're posting, like they look beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been so fun. What a journey of like identifying places in the valley. There's so much to discover here. It's crazy. I'm always like, why did I not know the studio was here? Be it yoga or there's a cool sound place in Old Town, or South Scottsdale rather. So yeah, thank you for saying that. It's been it's not been easy. You as always with anything in your life, like you have to find the people and the place that you jive with. And so definitely. I feel like I'm still kind of on that road of discovery.
Yeah. Awesome. So thinking about sound, how does sound affect our energy centers, aka our chakras? I know a lot of us hear about that it affects it, but how did you learn about it at least?
Yeah. So I will share, it's actually funny in a lot of the behavioral health facilities that I teach, sound in particularly, they're like, what chakra are we working with today? I'm like,
that's the one thing everyone knows.
Well, I'm like, which chakra do you want to work with? Like,
Yeah.
what are you feeling called to? My teacher, he's so funny. He's like, if each bowl, so typically, right, when you, let's say, go to buy a set of bowls, it's like this note heals the heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's for the throat. And my first two bowls that I bought were a C bowl, which was, I'm told, is the frequency of the root, and the G bowl, which is the frequency of the throat. And I have quotations with my fingers because how the fuck are we supposed to know that?
Right.
We don't. We don't. I love when people ask me, like, what hurts? Like, are we listening to today?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, I am not a scientific person in that way. Like, I'm much more like, let's feel the energy of this. Let's see where it goes. So that's like my way of thinking. But Hamid always jokes like, you know, if we had a bowl or a specific note for the heart chakra, we'd be able to ring it and, okay, cool, your heart chakra's healed. Next in line, you know, boop, okay, cool, Juliana's good too. And so I think, like, you know, anytime I have people ask this type of question, or, you know, they are like, oh, you know, I really like to like think about my heart chakra. Like, I need to heal there. And I'm like, cool, let that be your intention into this session. See what comes up. You know, and energy is energy. So wherever you let it flow, it's gonna go.
Exactly.
And you know, typically though, like, just by, once again, letting your body get into that state of opening and receiving, stuff is gonna move anyway. And so I think letting your heart and your soul be the determiners of, you know, what experiences you're going to get or have, versus being like, I'm going to focus so hard to heal my throat chakra or my crown or my root. It's like, no, let this be the moment where you open up and you discover and notice where energy is stuck or moving. And then from there, now you can go do the things or step into the energy that you want to heal those things. You know, maybe during a sound meditation, you get this major download of like, wow, I've never spoken my voice. I've never shared what I'm really thinking. Cool. So maybe that's a signal that, like, you get to play with your throat chakra a little bit, whether you believe in like the magic of crystals or more sound or yoga, like positions of playing around with a throat lock, for example. Like, it's all rinky dinky and it's not at the same time, but what you put the energy into or what you feel like you want to work with is what's going to come up and what's going to happen. Or not. It's going to be the opposite.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Which is so good to know too, because I'm like, in my head as you're talking, I'm like, so it's all a lie. Like the notes, because my mom, I only have one bowl because like you gotta make an investment to get a set. I was like, wait a second. Okay, these are expensive. But I asked 2 birthdays ago, I think, for just one bowl, because I was like, you know what, I would love to, like, you know, get started with this. And my mom was like, I'm gonna get you the sound bowl, but what note do you want? What, like, chakra? Because it said, and I got F, which is supposed to be the heart. But as I've played it, and I've played it sometimes in yoga at the end of my class or just at home after, like, while I'm meditating, that makes sense, because I don't always think like that's where I'm feeling it. You know? So that, I'm glad you debunked that.
Yeah. Well, and like that's my belief, because that's what was shared with me. And also I agree. Like, you know, frankly, it's marketing. It's a scam. And they do it with all sorts of things. You'll see gongs that are labeled like the Saturn tuned gong. And it's like, bro, did you contact Saturn and be like, yo, what's your frequency? Let me put it in this gong. I think what's beautiful, it's probably hard for some people to hear that, because you're like, I have a heart chakra like bowl, and this makes so much sense, and blah. Believe it if you want to. I don't care. But at the same time, I think it's really liberating to know that you can have one and work with it and let it just like guide you, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a full set of 7 to like enjoy or reap the benefits. I have 4. And I bought them because I like the notes and how they go together and play together. And so, yeah, I think like for me, I'm like the E-bowl is my favorite. I have a big mama E-bowl. She's thick. She's big.
She thicky.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. I knew that note resonated with me, and it resonates with a lot of other people too. And so I'm like, cool, that's what's for me. It does not mean that it's going to do the same thing for everybody.
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know though. And I love that too. We're like, if you want to believe it, believe it. That's how I feel about just spirituality in general. Like,
Girl,
no one
yeah.
should be judging what people like. You do you. What's working for you, let it be.
Somebody the other day asked me, I was like, what's her sun's sign? And she's like, I don't know what that is. I was like, when's her birthday? And she's like, oh, August. I was like, okay, she's a Leo. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And she's like, what? And I'm like, she looks like a Leo. Like, she's got curly hair, big eyes. Like, not all Leos look the same. But it's like that fullness, I guess, that expressiveness that comes through not only in your physical features, but the way you present yourself to the world. I'm like, that's Leo energy right there. And I explained it to her, and she was like, And she's like, I just don't know anything about this. And I'm like, that's fine. But like, I believe it. So
exactly.
I will keep yapping your ear off. If it's with everything, aromatherapy, and there's more and more science. I've gotten away from using the term woo-woo because sometimes I think it can be a little disrespectful to some of the really ancient practices that we have adopted in Western society. But like, quote unquote, woo-woo practices like sound, cacao, yoga, breathwork, all of these beautiful modalities, like they work if you let them,
Exactly.
It's like Santa Claus. If you believe in him, he's going to come and drop you some gifts. And I think spirituality is the same. It's like, I subscribe to crystals heavily. I have 1 million in my house. So does my boyfriend, because we love them. But like, people are like, that's dumb. And I'm like, cool, that's dumb because you said it's dumb, but it's not dumb to me. So
exactly.
Whatever.
I'm just over here living my best life.
Right, girl. I'm freaking putting crystals in my pocket and I am protected. So
right.
Angel numbers, same thing.
Yes. No. Agreed. I'm like, I will see the angel numbers and I believe in them. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So you've talked a little bit about this, but for people who maybe it's not like financially accessible to them, or they just want to incorporate it more, how can people practice breathwork and sound healing at home? What are some tools you might suggest?
Oh, yeah. For sound, it's actually funny, maybe loading soon. You can YouTube like, sound baths. There's this one girl, I don't even know her name, but she like goes out in a forest and plays guitar.
And it's I know like who you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So I love her.
You can link her in the show notes. Me too. But like, yeah, so you hear nature and you hear the guitar, like pull it up, be like, okay, I want to hear nature music or whatever. YouTube is a beautiful resource. And once again, most of the time it's free. Excuse me. I also use Spotify. Like I'll look up like, like quote unquote, like healing frequencies, yep. Or just like, music, like a gong bath. And there are playlists curated. There are artists that have full albums. Hamid has some albums that are like elemental. So you can kind of play around with like, if you have 12 minutes, let your meditation be this 12-minute song and just drop in. And once it's over, you can, come out of it and go on with your bad self in your day.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I would say like YouTube University all the way. Just be curious and like see what sounds resonate with you and go from there. I'm a heavy, I was not a very like white noise while I sleep type of person, but my boyfriend is. And we have one of those Hatch alarm clocks, and we play ocean waves when we go to sleep. And it is very helpful in my relaxation and bedtime process of just like, okay, like we're unraveling from the day and we're resting now. So if you have like any sort of sound machine or, even just want to put a sleep timer on your Spotify, like I highly recommend giving yourself the opportunity to listen to something if your mind really tends to kind of be crazy when you lay down.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. From a breathwork perspective, same thing. I'm actually starting to move a little bit further online. And this is one of the things that I'm hoping to share is like, breathing with you for 5 to 10 minutes and all these different types of breath that you can do from the comfort of your home on your own time that like make you feel good and make you feel, whether it's calm or energized or anything in between. Like the internet is endless. There's no boundary there, and that can be a bad thing, but in this way it can also be a very good thing, because you just got to go in and get curious and type some random stuff and you'll discover the most amazing things. So, and then
That's
I would
awesome.
also say for anybody that like you've ever gone to a breathwork session or a sound bath with, follow them. Like find them on TikTok, Instagram, whatever like modalities that they use to share their message. I find that more often than not, people are, using the power of social media and the internet to share that stuff in a way that does feel more accessible to people, without you having to, because not only like are you carving out potentially some cash monies to invest in a session or two, but it's also time, And so if you're in a season of life where you're like, oh my God, 90 minutes feels impossible right now, that's all right. If you have 5, 10, 15, there are so many resources out there that people are more than willing to share. You just gotta, take the energy to find them, I'd say.
Definitely, yeah. When you do start doing more of an online aspect too, definitely let me know. Maybe by the time this releases, maybe I can
Yeah,
put
girl.
something in the episode notes.
Yeah. I'm gearing up to launch my season 4 of my podcast, and once I get that going, I'm hoping by the fall, like I'm saying this out loud, so all you listeners, you're helping me manifest this too.
Right.
Honestly, like full transparency, going through this Pilates training, we have to do like yoga or any teacher training, right? Observations and stuff like that. And I've done a lot online just to see like what's out there. People really like classical Pilates. Some people really like contemporary vibes. Some people love like yoga sculpt, and they're all different, bar, dance, whatever. But they're all like the same in a way. They help you move with your body, your breath. And so in just doing so much research, there's so much room for us to continue sharing ourselves online. And I do think that like, I'm limiting myself by marrying 2 studios that are local. And my boyfriend and I want to travel. So I love being in those spaces and being with the real humans, but I also think that like find me on YouTube.
Right. Find me.
I have so many cool thoughts and plans. I'm just kind of working on like, okay, when am I going to create the space to buckle in and say the work is happening, So, yeah.
Yes, I don't doubt that you'll do it. You're always doing new things and just getting deeper. So I'm sure I'll see it very soon.
Thank you. Yes, we'll link up for sure.
Yes, amazing. All
Yeah.
right, so we'll kind of start wrapping up here. So, like we know, you're a yoga and Pilates teacher, you practice and facilitate sound and breath work for people, and you're also the host of the Spiritually Active podcast. So, why don't you tell the listeners just a little bit more about it in case they might want to check you out?
Yes. Thank you for highlighting that too. I started a podcast, I want to say maybe 2 years ago now. I'm looking over at my calendar. In my life, I feel like part of my soul's work is to unravel this idea that we are not supposed to be heard or take up space. That seems to be the wound that very often and frequently comes up for me, is feeling shame or feeling guilt about being loud and being bold and vibrant about who I am. And so I started the Spiritually Active podcast because, I mean, particularly as women, but I'd say just generally, right? When we think of health, wellness, people are always asking, are you physically active? Are you sexually active? Like, those are the key markers of our health as humans. But we are really rarely asked, like at a soul level, what is our activation, our level of activity. And so I created this space of interviewing beautiful humans like yourself, of like, hey, how are you spiritually active? Is it going out in nature? Is it sitting in front of the TV and having a really good ass glass of wine? And like, that's a spiritual experience for you. Because I think for so many of us, we don't trust that we are spiritual because we're not out here doing sound baths and meditations every weekend. Humanity gets in the way. I say that in the most loving way. Like,
Right.
our humanness sometimes distracts us from the fact that, like, I'm just a soul in a body. And when this life is over, like, I get to return from wherever I came from and potentially do it again in some completely other way. And so why not offer myself this opportunity here and now to, like, deeply discover who I am and who I want to be and share that with the world. So on the podcast, you've been a guest, obviously. As well as, I've had breathwork people, I've had my sound teacher, I've had folks who teach yoga, I've had on this season, I have a friend of mine who does like she works in Western medicine, but works with plant medicine. I've had all sorts of really cool people who just want to share, like, their heart and their way of being spiritual with the world. And yeah, we're just about to launch season 4, which is so crazy. My first episode will be with a friend of mine who does biomagnetic therapy, and he's actually helped me. It's wild. He's actually helped me work through some vertigo, which is really, really cool with magnets. So yeah, just, it's a space to discover and find all the cool, kooky ways in which we're connecting with each other, with ourselves, and with our spirit, higher power, universe, whatever you want to believe in or say you believe in.
Yes. That is beautiful. I'm sure.
Thank you.
I'll be sure to link that as well. Where else can the listeners connect with you?
Yeah, so I am slowly making my way onto TikTok-y. I'm just a little slow.
I just started last year. It's fun. It's actually fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I sound so old when I say this. I'm not that old, but like, I don't know how to work it. Like, every time I ask my brothers who are younger than me, they're like, Caitlin, you sound like a boomer. I'm like, well, I kind of feel like one.
It's okay. It's pretty intuitive once you, like, actually get on the platform and play around. Because no, I had that same fear.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. But on Instagram, you can find me personally and some of the offerings that I have. My user or my handle is at Caitlin Barner, CAITLINBARNER. And then you can also find my podcast. The handle is the Spiritually Active podcast on there as well. And then, you can find me teaching throughout the Valley. I always try to share what classes I've got going on or any special events. I have a couple cool ones coming up that are like Pilates, yoga, infusion stuff. So
Amazing.
that'll be really, really cool. And that's where you can find me.
Awesome. I'll be sure to put that in the show notes. Thank
Yeah.
you so
And
much
YouTube.
for coming on. Oh, yes. YouTube. Don't forget. She's going to be coming out with those breathwork classes.
The YouTube is the Spiritually Active Collective. So she's a long one, but she's there.
But she's a goodie. She's unique. Love that. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is so fun. I love just yapping about all things spirituality and adventuring into the unknown. So thank you again for having me.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you. Well, that's all that I have for you today, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to leave a review and share this podcast. You never know who in your life might resonate with it. Chat with you later.